Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the corrupt leftist media. I can't believe it, but I'm also not surprised at all. They're actually doubling down on this talking point. I tend to talk about the insane left or the insanity of the left a lot. Some people think it's just partisan, hyperbolic rhetoric, but it's really not. I mean, colloquially, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? You're a little bit crazy, or at least a little bit delusional, if you keep doing the same thing and it keeps failing and backfiring in your face, you don't learn your lesson and you continue to engage in the exact same type of behavior. Well, that's pretty much the perfect description for the leftist media, for the Democrat activist apparatus as a whole. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, simply unable to learn from very recent past. A couple days ago, partisan leftists decided they were going to take a 17-second clip of Donald Trump where he said this.
And you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine,
they decided to clip it out of context, casually omitting the part that he was talking about the auto industry and an economic bloodbath, and they made the claim that Trump was calling for violence. If he doesn't win the next election, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Of course, we saw the whole clip. They're malicious liars. They're lying. I mean, the backlash has been extreme. You'd expect a normal person to maybe issue a correction. Oh, my bad, didn't see the full context. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Donald Trump was talking about macroeconomics. But no, of course not. That's not what insane Democrats do. They double down, they triple down, once again not only displaying their insanity, but their total lack of ethics and morals. Let's expose it all, let's have a conversation, we got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we saw the full clip. We might as well play it. I think it's important to lay out all the facts. Here's what Donald Trump was actually talking about.
Mexico has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine, he
was obviously talking about economics, but this morning, if you tune into MSNBC, if you think that he was talking about economics, according to Joe Scarborough, you're stupid.
Maybe if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. Okay, maybe you can connect that to the auto industry. Maybe you can. Okay, but again, I've never really heard people discuss macroeconomics in terms of bloodbaths. Trade there, but let's just take that argument as is. Then he goes on and he says, that's going to be the least of it, and repeats it. It's going to be the least of it. Obviously, he's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, president, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not.
Joe Scarborough calls BS on Trump's defense of bloodbath comments. First of all, it's not Trump's defense, it's the defense. I mean, what an absolute clown. It is impossible to be a more dishonest human being than Joe Scarborough. It's not possible. It is not possible. The man had the audacity to say, I have never heard the word bloodbath be used within economic context. Really? Do these people not exist in the public conversation? These elitist talking heads who simply show up at their desk to read the establishment talking points, they're not actually paying attention to what's going on, because if they did, well, they probably would have seen this clip that we played yesterday.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down.
I've never really heard people discuss macroeconomics in terms of bloodbaths.
Are you sure about that?
Be a bloodbath.
It was a bloodbath. We're down 800 points.
Bloodbath 99 days out.
Todo despeinado porque no me dio tiempo nada ponerme la chancla y el bañador. Voy a la playa, había subido la marea.
No, of course not. We've never heard that term be used before. What an absolute fool. But clearly, or thankfully, people aren't buying his garbage.
When the former president, who's already incited violence among his followers, says that there's going to be a bloodbath after the election if he does not win, he is telling us what he is going to do.
Let me just disagree a little, because I'm having super 2016 deja vu over the bloodbath news cycle. This is what Donald Trump does. We're sitting here talking about a word that he used that 4 days ago we were all using to talk about what happened at the RNC that's in headlines about the markets on Wall Street. And now we're not talking about his 100% tariff policy, which is bonkers. We're talking about whether he used the word bloodbath to mean this or that, whether he means violence. We all know
what
that
do
it
you
can
do?
be used.
Ignore it?
Oh, no, I think very much not. And look, I think the idea that one comment is going to change the minds of Trump voters, I think we've seen that before, to Sarah's point. We've long passed that news cycle.
Even lefty journalists at ABC can see the writing on the wall. You know, they're essentially saying what I'm saying. I think they're seeing the insanity of leftist rhetoric. And a lot of people, I think, are worried, or a lot of them are warning, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go down this same route, because we've seen it backfire previously. And I guess the question that follows here is, are these dishonest Democrat activists masquerading as journalists gonna heed the warning? Well, that's an easy one to answer. Of course not. They're doubling down across the board. It's not just Joe Scarborough. Here's Mehdi Hassan on Twitter. Oh, come on. The full context would include his celebration in his speech of the January 6th violent insurrectionists. Violent insurrectionists, by the way. The full context would include his long history of inciting and inspiring violence. Yeah, his long history of inciting and inspiring violence. Definitely backed up by the facts.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
You can't shout context about auto jobs while ignoring all of that, says the person who ignores all the context and seems to live in a Trump-deranged fantasy world. Biden Communications Director Michael Tyler goes on the show of former Biden Press Secretary Jen Psaki to spew disinformation. Tyler says Trump's bloodbath remarks an endorsement of political violence. MSNBC's Michael Beschloss, a major party candidate, is saying, "You elect me, there's going to be a dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies that equals what we've seen in Germany."
No.
As we talk about this campaign, as it unfolds, we have never seen anything remotely like this in American history. A major party candidate is saying, you elect me, there's going to be dictatorship, bloodbath, violence, retribution against my political enemies. That equals what we saw in Italy and Germany and other places. If Americans do not get that, if they choose that voluntarily, then this country has changed in a way that I do not understand.
How do these people get away with this? Retribution against my political enemies that equals what we've seen in Germany. That is a flat-out slanderous lie. I'd love to see Democrats produce that quote that Donald Trump said that he wants to exact revenge on his political enemies that equals to what we've seen in Germany. Absolutely horrible. These people are completely freaking insane. They're building yet again divisive narratives on a mountain of lies. And after getting called out on their lies, even by people on their own side, this shows you exactly who we're dealing with. They know they're full of it. And you know how I know they know they're full of it? Hillary Clinton jumped on the bandwagon a little bit late. She posted this on the 18th of March at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. In other words, after the full context had been released and seen by pretty much everybody on Twitter, after it was clear that the Democrats were lying, here's Hillary Clinton late to the party with all the time in the world to educate herself, to do a little bit of research on what Trump actually meant in the full context of the quote. But of course, she's not so interested in that. No, she'll just push the party narrative, she'll push the slanderous lie, and then, of course, close the thread. Accounts that @Hillary_Clinton follows or mentions can reply, locking the reply thread of her tweet. On a weekly basis, these people show you who they are. I guess the question is, are you going to take them at their word or not? They're telling you outright that they don't care about the truth. They're malicious liars. They have no interest in ethics or honesty. Absolutely evil, horrible people who clearly prove it time and time again. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you. The Democrats are doubling down on the whole bloodbath hoax. I'm assuming this whole thing's going to backfire spectacularly. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story. I'll keep you guys fully updated as we move along. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.